Picture yourself stepping onto Brighton railway station on a misty June morning in 1934. You hear the usual clatter of porters, the hiss of steam, the chatter of holiday makers aiming for the pier. Nothing feels out of place until a station attendant waves you aside. He is pale, almost green, and he mumbles about a leaking trunk in the left luggage office. You follow him out of curiosity, and the metallic tang of something unmistakably wrong hangs in the air. You know that smell, don't you? It is the scent of blood turning sour, a scent that tells you a secret wants to be found. In the cramped baggage room, the trunk sits squat and silent, its canvas stained. A clerk prizes it open for a quick inspection. Maybe a butcher has been careless. Maybe someone packed a holiday roast. Instead, a headless, limbless female torso folds forward like a grotesque doll. You recoil, yet you cannot look away. This is the moment Brighton, the cheerful seaside resort, loses its innocence, and you are standing at ground zero. News spreads before the police even arrive. Reporters swarm the concourse, scribbling descriptions to wire back to Fleet Street. You can almost hear the typewriters hammering out the phrase that will stick for decades: the Brighton Trunk Murder. The singular becomes plural within hours because the press loves nothing better than escalation. And you are right there, wondering how a torso ends up in a holiday suitcase, wondering who she was, wondering who could do such a thing. Chief Inspector Donaldson from Scotland Yard arrives, flanked by the tall, hawk-featured pathologist Sir Bernard Spilsbury. You recognise Spilsbury's name. His courtroom performances are legendary, almost theatrical. He kneels by the sad remains and, in a voice barely louder than a whisper, comments on the cut marks. You lean in and hear him say the killer wielded skill, perhaps a butcher's or surgeon's. He also notices insect activity, tiny maggots already working through flesh. To you, it looks like horror, but to Spilsbury, it is a ticking clock. He gathers samples, knowing that the life cycle of a fly can set a timeline more reliably than any pocket watch. This, you realize, is how forensic entomology steps out of textbooks and into mainstream policing. While Spilsbury studies larvae under a magnifying glass, you drift toward a cluster of journalists debating headlines. They argue whether to brand the victim a lady or a prostitute, whether the killer is a madman or a mastermind. You notice how language shapes imagination long before facts solidify. Do you feel the pull of their words? The entire nation soon will. 48 hours later, a different railway clerk, this time at London's King's Cross, reports another sinister trunk. The echo is too perfect. Same year, same concealment, same dismemberment. Does the killer crave attention, or is a copycat feeding on the spectacle? When detectives open the second trunk, they find only limbs, no head, and none match the Brighton torso. 2 victims, 2 killers, or a single butcher playing games. You sense the story mutating, growing tentacles as fast as reporters can fill columns. Yet despite Spilsbury's precision, despite fingerprints taken from luggage tags, despite suit makers tracing canvas serial numbers, no suspect fits. The torso in Brighton remains nameless. She vanishes into the cold archives, labelled Jane Doe, and the railway platform keeps its timetable as if murder never dared intrude. You might think the tale ends there, but July arrives, and with it another shock. A woman named Violette Kay disappears from a dingy boarding house on Kemp Street, a 5-minute walk from the station. You stroll down the narrow lane in your mind, smell frying kippers from open windows, hear gramophone music drifting. Violette is a nightclub dancer past her prime, living with a young petty crook who calls himself Tony Mancini. Their relationship is volatile, fueled by jealousy and gin. Neighbours recall shouting, the thud of furniture, then sudden silence. Weeks pass. Mancini tells anyone asking that Violette ran off to Paris with a new lover. You spot him in local pubs waving postcards allegedly from her, yet the handwriting looks suspiciously like his own. Still, many shrug and accept the story. After all, Brighton is full of people who drift in and out with the tides. Then a peculiar smell seeps through the boarding house floorboards. The landlady complains. Mancini blames bad plumbing. Eventually, police search his room. You imagine lifting the lid of a large plywood trunk pushed beneath his bed. Inside lies Violette K, fully clothed, face bruised, skull fractured. The trunk is lined with newspaper articles about the earlier railway torso. Chilling coincidence or deliberate homage? You feel a cold ripple creep along your arms. At Mancini's trial, the courtroom feels like a theatre, and you have a front row seat. Reporters jostle for angles. Sketch artists sweep charcoal across pads. The prosecution calls pathologists who describe the head wound, the timeline, the trunk. You listen to Spilsbury again, calm and clinical, outlining how rigor mortis, insect larvae, and newspaper print dates tighten the net around the accused. Yet Mancini's defense turns the mighty pathologist into just another man with an opinion. The barrister suggests the blow could be accidental. Perhaps Violette fell during a drunken quarrel. Mancini claims panic drove him to conceal the body, not guilt of murder. You watch jurors shift in their seats as the defense hints that a mysterious stranger could have delivered the fatal strike. They introduce the idea that the earlier torso killer might still be at large, might even have visited Kemp Street that night. Doubt, once planted, flowers quickly. After a short deliberation, the jury returns a verdict of not guilty. Gasps shoot across the gallery. Mancini grins and straightens his tie. Outside, flashbulbs stutter, capturing the face of a man who quite possibly got away with murder. Do you feel justice has slipped through hidden cracks? Or do you admire the performance of reasonable doubt? In the days that follow, editorials rage. Some blame sensational journalism for tainting the case. Others blame the police for sloppy legwork. You notice how each paper spins the same facts into wildly different morals. One headline screams about Brighton becoming a playground for fiends. Another romanticizes the town's dark glamour. You notice, too, how circulation numbers climb alongside each lurid paragraph. Years later, Mancini finally confesses in a paid newspaper interview, admitting he struck Violette during an argument, panicked, and hid her body. The confession cannot harm him. Double jeopardy rules say he cannot be tried again. The paper prints his story in serial form, milking every grisly detail. You might ask yourself whether the confession is truth or another profitable performance. Either way, it sells. Now step back and consider what these twin trunk murders teach you. Forensic science made bold strides. Remember the larvae marking time like tiny hourglasses? Those techniques would evolve into today's DNA match certainty. Yet even perfect science can stumble when juries crave stories over statistics. You also see the formidable power of press framing. A headline decides if a victim is a saint or a sinner. A headline decides if a suspect looks like a monster or a misunderstood lover. In 1934, that power shaped verdicts. Today, with social media echo chambers, it may be even louder. So what stays with you as you leave Brighton Station in your imagination? Maybe it is the image of anonymous luggage rolling past. Any trunk a potential coffin. Maybe it is the realization that a clever killer can hide in plain sight, shielded by spectacle. Or maybe It is the uncomfortable truth that you, as a consumer of stories, help decide which murders fade and which become legend. Next time a push notification flashes on your phone promising shocking crime details, ask yourself, are you being informed or are you being seduced? Does the headline illuminate or does it merely provoke? The Brighton Trunk cases remind you that curiosity is natural, but discernment is essential. In the end, you stand on that platform once more, trains rattling by, gulls crying overhead, the sea glittering beyond the rooftops. The murderous trunks are long gone, but the questions they packed still travel with you. Keep them close. Let them nudge you toward skepticism, empathy, and respect for the quiet stories that never make front pages. Those, too, deserve to be heard.